those cassette players that you put in. It's got the cord and it can connect to my phone. I didn't want that, so I bought a new stereo, and I was like, I went and talked to someone. I didn't like the price of them installing it, so I had a couple buddies that said they knew what they were doing. They didn't. So I was left with a hole where there was no, and it was past the point of no return. I couldn't get someone to come in and put something else in. Just too many cords were cut. So yeah, an empty hole right there. And then I moved to Texas in it. A black exterior, black interior. I didn't want to pay the like $17 extra to get a carport at my apartment. It'll be fine. Stuff started melting on the inside, so that didn't help. Then there were some exhaust issues. Didn't want to pay the price, so I kind of rigged it a little bit. And Brian, you'll definitely remember the sound that emitted from that thing. It was so loud. You drive up and I'm like, and that's no exaggeration. Not an exaggeration one bit. It's not. No. And then near the end of its life, I hit a dead deer on the side of the road. Popped the front tire. This is actually a photo right afterwards. As you can see, I've got the spare on it. The front, I had to zip tie the front. I didn't get it looked at. I should have got it looked at. And that, just a couple of weeks later, what maybe could have, I don't even know if I could have saved it, but the radiator just, I mean, I'm on the side of the road and instantly a massive white cloud of smoke just, and it doesn't stop. And that was the end of its life. I could say it was a bad car, absolutely, but I think with what I've said, you kind of know the deal. I just didn't treat it right. It wasn't a bad car; it was a bad owner. That was the problem. I didn't give it the time it deserved. Did I make sure there was gas in it? Sure. Did I make sure the oil was changed? Sure. Did I register it properly? Sure. But all I did was the bare minimum, and I just plummeted that car to the ground. We're going to end our series today on the questions of Jesus. We've been doing this for like 7 weeks now, something like that. The last question I want us to look at comes from Luke chapter 6, verses 43 through 49. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I tell you? You see, Jesus expects more from our relationship. There are often times that maybe I go, this relationship doesn't feel good. Or maybe I do. Maybe I feel like it's great, but then maybe, just maybe, I or someone in this room could feel shocked in the last day. When I've been saying, Lord, Lord, I've been coming to worship. I've been praising him. But he says, depart from me. And I felt like, hey, you know what? I've done the bare minimum, right? Put the gas in, changed the oil, right? I've done the bare minimum, right? I showed up Sunday morning. I called you Lord, Lord. How is that not enough? You see, Jesus in this text is going to discuss this very simple yet very important fact. Jesus wants all of you for this relationship. He wants you to give him all. He understands, of course, that you are an imperfect being. He is going to make up for that. Don't assume that you have to be a perfect being for Jesus. No, he makes up for that. Otherwise, his mission was for naught. But he still expects your all. He still expects you to give him your life, not just your words, not just an occasional praise, not just your Sunday morning for an hour and a half. He expects you to give him your all in this relationship, not just the bare minimum. And it's not just that he expects you to do it, it's actually really important for you, and it is going to help you. We're going to talk about that in this lesson today. So we're going to discuss Luke chapter 6, verses 43 through 49, and we're going to look at what Jesus has to say about this. The first thing that he is going to discuss is mixed fruit in verses 43 through 45. What you see before you, this plant is called a pokeweed plant. Now, I mean, look, you look at it now, maybe there's some people out there who know plants, and so you know kind of where I'm going with this. But it looks beautiful, right? I mean, it looks vibrant. If it wasn't on the projector, it would actually look even more vibrant. It's a beautiful plant. Good-looking berries. They're going to look very similar to some berries that we would eat. If I were out in the wild and I was starving and I saw that, I might lean towards that. I might see that and go, there's nothing else around, I'm going to pick it. But unfortunately, that would be a very bad decision, because at bare minimum, if I eat any part of this plant, not just the fruit, but also the leaves, the stem, if I wanted to try the root, you name it, every square inch of this plant, I would at minimum have digestion issues. Minimum. You could also start getting dehydration. You might, depending on how much of it you eat, go into convulsions. And if you're already not very healthy and you eat a lot of it, there's a chance that it could kill you. It doesn't look bad, but its fruit are always going to be bad, and not just its fruit, but every bit of it. Verse 43, Jesus starts a parable. For no good tree bears bad fruit, nor again does a bad tree bear good fruit. You see, the fact of the matter is, he's not talking about, do some apple trees occasionally have an apple that's not really good, pick it, throw it. He's not talking about that. He's saying, if you have an apple tree, what's it going to produce? Apples, and it's going to be good, right? But if you have a pokeweed plant, can you anticipate that there's going to be apples, apricots, things that are good to eat coming from it? No, because the whole thing is bad. And then he takes it a step further. It's not just that bad things produce bad things and good things produce good things. Verse 44 says, for each tree is known by its own fruit. For figs are not gathered from thorn bushes, nor are grapes picked from a bramble bush. Those may sound bad, thorn bushes and bramble bushes, but actually these are some of the bushes that we might get raspberries, blackberries from. He's not necessarily jumping into something that is notoriously bad and we just hate it. It's just he's saying, you're not going to get a fig from a thorn bush. That's not what you're going to get. You are not going to get grapes from a bramble bush. That's not what you're going to get. What you get always will come from the source. If you want a fig, you have to go to a fig tree. If you want grapes, you have to go to a grapevine. You cannot hope to go to something that is not that type of plant and say, maybe, just maybe, it's going to grow off of it. What's the point? The point is this. The good person, out of the good treasure of his heart, produces good. And the evil person, out of his evil treasure, produces evil. For out of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaks. Guys, here's the reality. This is not a passage about here is how you judge whether someone is good or bad. That's not what the point of this passage is, but this passage does kind of show us something. If you know someone well enough, you're going to start figuring out their heart. You see, so often I might want to say, well, Jesus knows my heart. Jesus is saying other people are going to see your heart the more they know you. Jesus says, I see your heart the more I know you through how you live, through how you act. He's saying you cannot have a good heart, but just kind of live a bad life. He's not going to go, he's not the best person. He really only shows up to Sunday service. Besides that, he's not very good to his family. He's not very good to his coworkers. He doesn't really show up for the people who need him, but I know his heart. That's not what's going to happen. That's not how it happens. Because what flows out of your tongue, what flows out of your actions is your heart. So if you do the bare minimum, guess what? That's a reflection on how Jesus is reading your heart. Do you get that? Do you get why it's so important to not just be hey, I'll just show up for Sunday and that's all I give to Jesus? Because if I do the bare minimum, that's the reflection of my heart. That's what he reads. You're not going to be able to say, Jesus knows my heart, because Jesus does. And he's saying, no, if the majority of what's coming out of you is bad, I'm going to read that as a bad heart. I need to give Jesus my all because it's going to train my heart to flow good treasures. That's what it's going to do. And then secondly, he talks about, he ends with this concept of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaks. He's talking about words. So the next thing he's going to talk about comes from our key text, verse 46. He's going to discuss mere words. Before he was talking about mixed fruit, but now let's talk about mere words. Verse 46 reads this: "Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I tell you?" Jesus is going to bring this up for a purpose. He's going to make us understand something. Make us break down this text. And I want to unpack two concepts from this text. Two things that this text teaches us. Have I been in Texas too long? Sorry if that offended anyone. Forgive me. But Jesus exposes the foolishness of words without obedience. That's the first thing that we can unpack from this text. Jesus is going to expose the foolishness of words without obedience. Let me ask you something. Consider this scenario. How crazy this would be. Imagine you've got someone who goes to church with you, and it's about 3 years from now is going to be the next presidential election, right? And so about a year and a half out, I heard the sigh, and about a year and a half out, this person is just loud and proud about their candidate. And you know who they are voting for. Their words speak volumes of who they're going to vote for. Maybe even their shirts and their hats and the flags that they fly in their yard and the bumper sticker that they have on their car speaks volumes. Their social media speaks volumes of who they are voting for. A year and a half passes, and they are waiting in line to vote. And they're in that merchandise, right? It's just that what they say, what they wear speaks exactly who they are voting for. How shocked would you be for them to walk in that voter's box and vote for the other person? I mean, it would just be like, this doesn't make sense. Guys, that's what we do if we say, Lord, Lord, but we don't obey. Do you know why? Because if I wear the shirts, if I say the words, if I say, you are my Lord, guess what that word means? Master. What does master insinuate? Well, actually, the book of Romans is going to be one of the most explicit ones that says we are slave. It doesn't even say servant. We are slave. Does a servant or a slave have any right to say, but this is my life. I'm going to do what I want to do? No. We say, yes, sir. Right? That's what we say. So if I am calling him my master, but then I say, but I don't like what that book says on this aspect, so I'm going to do what I say. It's no different than walking in, wearing one candidate's shirt and voting for the other. Because I'm saying, you are my Lord, but then I go, but I'm actually my Lord. The foolishness of words without obedience. But it also shows us, the next thing that I want us to unpack is Jesus expects us to learn what he told us, not just know about him. See, that's the easy, comfortable thing to do. I know about Jesus. I know that Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, right? So that I'm good, you know? I know that Jesus died for my sins. That's fantastic. That's the gospel, right? There are aspects of knowing about Jesus that are important and amazing, but there's also this aspect of do what I tell you. So what do I need to do? I need to learn not just his story, but I need to also learn what he says and his commands and the aspects that he says, if you are a follower of me, this is what I expect of you. Just knowing about Jesus isn't enough. Otherwise, he would say, why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not walk in the same manner as I do? I mean, he does that in certain times. Certain times he says, walk as me. But this he explicitly says, and you don't do as I tell you. Listen to his words and obey them. Don't just have mere words. He's not going to mix fruit in his mind. In other words, he is not going to say, hey, you know what? You've been living bad, but I know your heart. And he is not just going to take your words either. He's not going to take your praise as the only thing. You may speak really well, but if your actions are bad, still going to say, hey, look. Just because you hold your tongue doesn't mean everything else is garbage. Obey. Third and finally, though, we're going to now look at man's foundation. You see, this is really where Jesus is going to say, but why? Why do I want you to live this way? Why do I want more than just your thoughts or more than just your words? I want your actions and obedience. Because in verse 47, he says, everyone who comes to me and hears my words and does them, all right? You come to him with your heart, right? You come to him you come to him and listen to his words, right? But then there's someone who does them, who obeys them, who listens to them and acts upon them. He says, I will show you what he is like. He is like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundation of the rock. And when a flood arose, the stream broke up against that house and could not shake it because it had been well built. Anyone who has ever been a part of a building process, whether you actually built a house or you just saw someone building your house, or even just drove by or have learned about it, you know, anyone knows that the foundation is probably the most important part. And it's definitely the most important part to the structure. It's what holds it together. Your obedience is what's going to hold you together. That flood is the flood of temptations, because there are some times or even some seasons in your life that the temptations are going to run in and rush and flood you. Who are you going to be? Someone who has been obedient, someone who has been working, someone who has been listening to Jesus' words and obeying them. Guess what? They stand firm. Maybe that temptation is something in secret. Maybe that temptation is something massive because you've just been going through such terrible things. When that flood hits, is your foundation strong? Or is it like man number 2? But the one who hears and does not do them is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation. When the stream broke against it, immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great. I've got that beautiful roof. I've got those walls. I've even got strong beams to put this together. I'm hearing you. I'm listening. I would just like to be able to do the bare minimum. I would like to be able to come and listen to a sermon, call him my Lord, and then I'd like to just kind of live the way I've always lived, and I don't want to make a change. I like my life. I like who I am. Guess what? When that flood comes in, the house is going to crumble. If I look to Jesus' words, if I look to his life, and I say, I would just love to fill up the tank with gas, change the oil, and not worry about anything else. Everything else is too high a price for me. Everything else is too expensive. I would just like to keep it at that and keep it running. Guess what? I had that car for about 1.5 years. Failed. Guess what? That house is going to crumble. Guess what? Jesus is going to look at my heart and say, number one, Jesus needs us to know we're not to be part good, part bad. And if he sees that heart that's bad, he's going to say, I'm sorry, but no. I can't take that. I can't take the crumbling house. I can't take just what you feel is in your heart, even though he says, hey, look, guess what? I know what's in your heart, and it's not good. Jesus needs us to know we should not be coming to him merely with words, because then he's going to look at those words and just say, but you're lying to me. You call me Lord. You're calling me your master, and you're not obeying. So Jesus needs us to know obedience toward him will build the strong foundation we need. He needs your heart. This lesson is not about the fact that he doesn't need your heart. He needs it, right? The good treasure of your heart flows good, right? He needs your heart. Does he need your words? Yeah, that's not what this lesson is. This lesson is not about, hey, he doesn't need you to call him Lord, Lord. He does. He needs your words, but he needs more than that from you. And you need more than that too. That's what this is about. You need to listen to his words. His words are not just random demands in your life. They're a foundation. They are the things that's going to hold your life together. When everything else is crumbling around you, and that then means everyone else is crumbling around you, you, the person who has been obedient to Jesus' words, you're not going to crumble. He's not just demanding random words, not just demanding random commands. He's building a foundation that you need in your life. So don't just call him Lord, Lord, but don't do what he says. Follow, obey, build that foundation. He wants you to have a strong house. He wants you to have good fruit. He needs all of you. And if you've not given him all of you yet, maybe it's recently. Recently, you have not been giving all of you to him. We're here for you, to help you, to bring you in, to encourage you and pray for you. But also, if you've not yet obeyed Jesus Christ, if you have not yet put him on in the waters of baptism for the forgiveness of your sins, the way he asked you to, then do that right now so that you can start this new life with us together, whatever the need may be. Come forward as together we stand and sing.